Railroaded by Gary Ives. Read by Gary Ives. California, Clapp, that's the place. California, why, with a fat old grubstake we could open us up a store maybe, or even a whorehouse. California, that's where the future is, son. There ain't nothing in Texas. Nothing for us. Sooner I'm done with that crazy wife and these here brats, the better. So it gets so where I can hardly breathe sometimes. I want to start me a new life, 'cause this old one ain't worth a hat full of possum turds. Olson scooted his chair closer and leaned real close to Clapp. This couldn't be no simpler, Clapp. You climb aboard the car from one end, same time as I climb up on t'other end. We'll have a pistol in one hand and a sack in t'other. We'll tell 'em straight, all your valuables in the bag, boys, and nobody gets hurt. Then me and you skedaddle. It'll take them dudes hours to fetch up a posse, and by then, me and you will be crossed over into Mexico free and clear, rich hombres. Me and you, waking up in California in a week. No, it don't seem that simple to me, Ole. What if it turns out they don't want to give us their money and stuff? I don't cotton to shooting nobody, no sir. Oh shit, it ain't gonna be no shooting, Clapp. Ain't Mr. Mackley the fucking superintendent? Damn, man, he probably don't go nowhere without he carries hundreds of dollars. Why, I bet you his railroad watch and fob is worth a year's pay. No, sir, won't be no shooting. Them fat cats is soft, I tell you. They see iron, they're gonna shit greenbacks. Yes, they will. Afore they know what's happened, we'll be halfway to Mexico, fat, dumb, and happy, boy. The information concerning the superintendent's visit had come from cripple Axel Sanderson, a telegrapher for the Pecos River Railroad. Axel, despite having been born lame with a shortened, twisted leg, had with his older sister's help learned to read and to cipher numbers. At an early age, he had begun hanging around the railroad depot in Pecos. His voluntary sweeping of the station's floors, emptying spittoons, and cleaning the privies earned him the attention and friendship of the station master, Elwood Green, a retired lawman who took Axel under his wing, taught him telegraphy, and eventually hired the boy. From childhood, Axel's best friend had been his neighbor, Jenny Olson. As he and Jenny grew, so did their affection for one another. Jenny's father, Niles Olson, was a notorious drunkard, thief, wife-beater, and all-around son of a bitch. Although Axel hated Niles, he feared the older man on account of Niles' temper, and the plain fact that he could easily prevent him from seeing his sweetheart. Axel grew to hate Jenny's father as much as he loved her, but inwardly felt powerless before him. Around Pecos, Niles Olson was considered trash. Years earlier, he'd worked at the stockyard, but had been let go after the nightman caught him loading sacks of stolen grain in a wagon. But for the sake of his poor wife and daughters, who had the pity of the whole town, he would have been arrested. As no merchant or rancher would hire the thief, he was reduced to scratching out a living by grubbing sacks of saltpeter and sulfur from diggings out in the Chihuahuan desert with B.M. Clapp. Slow of wit, B.M. Clapp easily fell under the sway of glib Olson, who had befriended him as much for the fact that Clapp owned 2 burros as for his easy control over the man. With a sack of pinto beans and water bags, the two would trek to diggings 20 miles from Pecos, where they'd pick as much mineral as the burros could carry, or until the mezcal ran out. It was a mean life, but about the only option available for a thief and a fool to eke out a living. Young Axel made it a point to visit Jenny at least once a week, as much for the benefit of Jenny's mother and 2 sisters, who lived sorry lives under the thumb of their father. In a beating one Friday, Niles had broken his wife's wrist and blackened both eyes. Drunk, he had thrashed poor Lita Olson savagely with a razor strop because there had been no bacon for his supper. One night, Axel overheard Jenny's father as he and B.M. Clapp, in a drunken ramble on the front porch, discussed schemes for fast money and getaway far from Pecos. Poor dumb Clapp sat listening to Niles, who was all head up to rob a train. The chance for easy money and escape from tedium and responsibility was pulling hard at Niles Olson, who readily convinced the simpleton B.M. Clapp that ease and fortune were waiting out there for men bold enough to act. One afternoon in May, when Niles was in the desert, Axel brought Mrs. Olson a slab of bacon and a sack of cornmeal. But later that afternoon, Niles came in from the diggings, sober and in a rare pleasant mood, and asked Axel to stay for supper. "Some big doings coming to Pecos, Mr. Olson." "Oh yeah? How's that?" "Special car coming down with Mr. Mackey, the superintendent. Mr. Mackey, he's coming to Pecos in his own special railroad coach with a bunch of big shots to attend Mr. Green's daughter's wedding." "Oh yeah? So, when's this going to be, son?" "This Saturday. But, Mr. Olson, it's a secret, so please don't let on to no one. Ain't anybody supposed to know. I reckon on account of they'll be bringing the payroll along on the same special car." "Secret's safe with me, boy. Pass them hoe cakes over here this way." Niles Olson's plan was simple. Trains coming into Pecos took on water at the tower in the bend in the river 2 miles from town. As soon as the train stopped, he and B.M. Clapp would enter the superintendent's car from each end, wearing bandanas across their faces and with pistols drawn. Niles would command everyone to squat down on the floor and cover the superintendent and any guests with him, while B.M. Clapp would collect wallets, watches, and rings in a flour sack. Niles would then threaten to shoot the superintendent if he didn't give up the payroll. In the early morning dark, Captain John Little and Willie Lopez hopped down from the slow-moving car to take a piss and stretch their legs just before the train came to a stop beneath the water tower. While the men relieved themselves, they overheard from the other side of the coach Niles Olson telling B.M. Clapp, "Now remember, hold the damn pistol up like you mean business, you big dummy. Now let's rob this fucking train, partner." Creeping under the car, they watched as the robbers stuck their pistols in their belts to tie the bandanas across their faces. "Willie, you take Fatso at your end. I'll get Stumpy here." In a flash, it was over. Niles Olson and B.M. Clapp entered Pecos early that morning, handcuffed together with their flour sacks over their heads, wearing only their underwear, their pants and boots carried under their arms on their march from the depot to the jail. Willie Lopez advised the sheriff that taking away prisoners' boots and pants greatly lessened the chance of escape, and oh my, didn't the folks on Main Street enjoy such a parade. Even though that was 10 years ago, everyone in Pecos remembers that Saturday, because that was the day of Jack Green's daughter, Lottie, and Averill Hauptman's wedding. The biggest and best wedding Pecos had ever seen. Averill and Lottie were married on the platform at the Pecos Railroad Depot, where Jack's old father was a station master. For 22 years, old Mr. Green had been a Texas Ranger, and earlier on the morning of the wedding, the special car the superintendent had personally loaned to Company B of the Texas Rangers arrived with 12 invited friends, all Rangers of old Mr. Green's company, come for the wedding and Jack's retirement ceremony. Adding to the excitement of the wedding had been the arrest of 2 train robbers. At the wedding, old Mr. Green announced his retirement and read aloud the confirming telegram from the superintendent appointing Mr. Axel Sanderson the new station master of the Pecos River Railroad. Interestingly, 1 year later, Mr. Sanderson and Jenny Olson were married on the very same platform. Old Jack Green gave away the bride in place of her father, Mr. Niles Olson, indisposed by a 20-year prison sentence for attempted train robbery.